The meeting will come to order. Roll call, please.
Council members Anderson.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Entman.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Jameson.
Here.
Litz.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Aguilar.
Here.
Good evening, everyone. We'll be led in invocation tonight by Dr. Ron Tottingham from Empire Baptist Temple, and then we will immediately say the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could please rise, please.
Our Heavenly Father, tonight, thank you for the privilege that I have personally for living in the great city of Sioux Falls. I pray tonight that you'd bless this meeting and you'd bless the people that are here, and especially these that wear on their shoulders the city. It's a big city and there's a lot of people, and we're dependent on this group here, and I pray that our Lord would bless them and guide them. And this city is bigger than they are, and I pray that you'd give them guidance in everything they do, and you'd bless tonight in a very special way. And I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would move approval, and then I have a question. Erpenbach.
And second?
Second, Anderson.
It's been motioned by Councilor Erpenbach, seconded by Councilor Anderson. Are there any further motions or changes?
Not motions or changes, but just a clarification, partly for the newbies and partly for citizens who are watching this. Would you explain or could someone explain for us the elderly tax freeze abatements and why it appears that so many of those folks seem to have fallen through the cracks in that process? Is it because their ages just changed? I mean, can somebody explain that?
Kyle, could you step forward, please?
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Kyle Helseth. I'm the Deputy Director of Equalization for Minnehaha County. And the elderly tax freeze is a direct benefit to the elderly in the state of South Dakota. The determining criteria is the day they turn 65. So, in essence, that's why you'll see so many of the elderly tax freezes, is that it does take immediate effect that day, and it affects their taxes due that year. So you'll probably see in excess of 200 to 250 of these a year.
Super. That's what I needed. It just looked odd, and for us newbies, I appreciate you explaining that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ilsa, thank you so much. Councilor Erpenbach, anything else? Okay, great. Any other further motions or changes before we go on? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please vote yes, and those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Anderson Jr.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Entman.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Then motion prevailed 8-0. The consent agenda has been approved. Now move on to the regular agenda. Is there a motion to approve the regular agenda?
So moved. Let's.
Second,
Rolfing.
It's been motion to approve by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Are there any further motions or changes to the regular agenda tonight? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the regular agenda, please vote yes, and those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Anderson Jr.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Entman.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
That motion is also prevailed 8-0. The regular agenda has been approved. Folks, we have a good crowd here tonight. Really appreciate you being here. This is an opportunity where we set aside an opportunity for anyone to come up to the podium. We'd love you to speak for 5 minutes on any topic that is not on something that we're going to address later on. We just ask you to please just speak your name Anybody would like to come up, please do so.
Hello,
Hello, sir.
my name is Tracy Sabo, and I just have a few questions for the mayor. Mr. Huther, during the campaign, you campaigned on transparency,
Yes.
which I really appreciate. We need transparent government. And so in the interest of transparency, I was just wanting to get a little bit of more information about who is on your transition team that you have.
As has been reported, and as I've stated publicly to the press on a couple occasions, the transition team is me.
Okay. Okay.
There are some people that, for example, is also in the spirit of transparency. I am in the process of working to find a new city attorney to represent the good people of Sioux Falls. I'm not interviewing them completely on my own. I've got a couple of other folks that are involved in that.
Do you know who
Steve
those?
Sanford, Dave Nelson, Bill O'Toole. They are, as well as Justice Amundsen, who is the current city attorney.
Okay.
But that is that is a group that is
Okay.
interviewing that for that position. As for the others, there is no transition team. It's me.
I guess I'm a little bit confused because at one point you had said there was one, and then later on you stated that there is one, but you're not going to release the names of who those people are,
Well-
and then now you're saying that that it's just basically you. So
No, I think that's a fair comment. But
I
but
feel like
actually-
it's just confusing to be saying one thing at one time, then something else at another time.
Mr. Sabo, to you, if I could clarify, I
Yeah.
never did say there was one.
Oh, okay.
Before I was elected and then right after I was elected, I was asked in terms of would there be a transition team. At that time, I certainly considered it, but I decided against that. I will bring in people that I think are going to be important to the process as they are needed. But right now, I've got 25 years of experience in terms of managing very, very large organizations. I'm excited about this one. But right now, I'm in the process of trying to identify good people to help me lead this city. There will be some changes that you'll hear more about. It will be open. It will be transparent. But one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to talk about personnel matters out in the public. And the reason being for that is that I actually have to replace people. And these people have families that care about them. They have, and I'm not going to make that a public forum. What I will do, though, is I am going to make decisions. They're going to be tough decisions, but they're going to be ones that I believe are going to be critical for this city. And I'm going to identify people that I think are really solid for these roles. Once I've identified them, then you're going to find out who those people are, and you're also going to find out who they are going to who they will replace. But you're not going to find out until then. And that's not meant in the spirit of not being transparent. It's meant in the spirit of being professional. It's meant in the spirit of being cognizant of these people and their families, and it's the way that I would want to be treated if it was me as well.
Certainly. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
My pleasure, Mr. Sabo. Again, thanks for your tough question, but a good one. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Timmer.
council members, it's really an honor to stand in front of you because I want to say thank you for serving in the roles you're playing. It's a very important part of our democratic process, and if we don't have people that are interested in government, we won't have a democracy in America.
And sir, could you just state your name for those people who don't know you?
I'm John Timmer. I live at 7100 South Whiskey Place. I have lived in Sioux Falls for about 55 years, and I've seen Sioux Falls grow from about 50,000 people to 150,000 people. And back at the time I moved here, see, I was only about 3 then, it was easy for a rezoning process to take place because everybody knew almost everybody in town. Today, we're a big city, And we're going to continue to need rezoning of various properties in order to help our whole city continue to grow. And during the last 3 years, I've been involved in some rezoning processes, none of which I want to talk about at this point. I want to talk about a little bit about the process itself. My concern says that when someone applies for a rezoning, the description of the rezoning is not clear when it's put on the signs that are placed out on the property. There's no way the common citizen out there can know what the world's going on, because they don't even understand the letters and so on that are there. They don't understand that this could be detrimental to their property. Present signs fall down, blow down, or get covered by snow and get ruined by rain, because in many cases they're little plaster-glass sticks stuck in the ground with a little piece of paper flopping around, not much different than a sheet of paper you have stapled. I noticed the last several that I've seen posted had a much better stake in the ground, a much better background, and generally were standing up very good. But one was placed in the ground a week ago Thursday, and by Friday night it was laying on the ground, and it's still laying there right now. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that today, because that's the way our process works. Posting of signs is done by the proponent of rezoning. And I think that's very unfair to the proponent, that because they have the onus of making sure it stays up there, and why should they? Shouldn't that be our responsibility as a city government or the planning department to make sure the proper sign is put up, the proper descriptions are on those signs, and that if they get blown over or so on, they get replaced. Currently, the price of $200 is exceptionally minimal for a proponent to pay for a rezoning process. That only takes a few hours of the Planning and Zoning Commission's time, and they have much more time that they have to put in on it than that. I think it's easy enough at $200 that some people could say, well, let's just try it, let's see if it'll work. And I don't think that's what we should be doing in the rezoning process. One of the things that I feel should be done, there should be a letter to the landowner or landowners within a certain distance of the property that's proposed for rezoning. And that letter could go out by certified mail. And if we have to charge the proponent for that mailing, so be it. But then the owners can't say that they didn't know it. And they would have, in that letter, they would probably have a description of how they could do something about this rezoning. The present 7-day requirement just doesn't make sense, folks. Somebody can be out of town on a fishing trip, and he gets back and finds his property has already had a rezoning hearing, and he never knew it before he left on his fishing trip. I think this time period should probably be 30 days or some period of time that's reasonable. And I feel very strongly it should be the city that's responsible for those signs, the posting of the signs, and the onus should be taken away from the people who are proposing it and should be put in our government's hands to make sure it's done properly. I've talked with some of you about this, and some of you have even started by talking to me about it. And I know the interest is there, and we all recognize government is here because government has to change during changing circumstances. And people change. And by you folks doing a good, hard study on this, compare it with what some other states have done, I know you'll come up with a better answer than what we have now. Thank you very much.
Mr. Timmer, great job. Thank you. Very eloquent. I'm sure you know, of course, Mr. Cooper.
Oh, very well.
Well, of course, he is the man who will help drive the change that you are so passionate about. Again, please talk with him. You certainly have access to me. as well as access to this fine team, and we'll work together to make that change happen.
If I could add one thing.
Please.
In talking to the Planning Commission, they immediately said, yes, we are already working on it. And that came about as a result of one of you people watching one of the hearings not too long ago. And, of course, I like to think Cooper and Schmidt and all the other people there are doing a great job for the city.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
That might be a good issue that we could refer even to the Land Use Committee to take and look over that regulation, those regulations.
Mr. Trimmer, you know Councilor Entman?
Very well.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for tackling that. Councilor Litz.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say that's a very good suggestion. I look forward to my newly assigned duties as the chair of examining that, Mr. Trimmer. I agree with you. I've been on both sides of that equation with the sign thing, and I would, in fairness, tell you that there are two processes. One would be the Planning Commission, and then the other one, the sign that goes up for the City Council. So there's a two-step sign process that you have to go through, and for a person that's trying to monitor that and put those 4 signs up, and one of them might wind up in the middle of the cornfield out there during a rainstorm. It is kind of cumbersome. So yes, I think that your ideas have some very good merit, and it's something that I've thought of for quite a while.
Thank you very much.
Any other good folks want to come to the podium? I just wanted to mention, Mr. Sabo relayed a tough question to me, and it truly is the people's government, and you should have access to all of your elected leaders, such as whether it's the mayor or the city council, and so please, whether you're watching on TV or out there in the audience, don't hesitate to even bring those tough questions. I'm new to the job, but Mr. Sabo hammered me pretty good. I liked it. It's all part of the process, and I look forward to more of that dialogue in the future. So please, one last chance. Anybody want to speak today? Well, very good. Then let's move on to item 26.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll
Ms.
excuse myself from this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 26 is a conditional use permit appeal, 2010-0406, northwest corner of West 85th Street and South Minnesota Avenue. The conditional use permit was to construct an assisted living facility approved at the May 5th, 2010 Planning Commission meeting with a vote of 4 yes, 1 no.
Mayor and Council, good evening. I'm Mike Cooper, representing Planning and Building Services. We would like to respectfully request that this item be postponed for 1 week by the Council. We are in the process of continuing to work with the applicant and neighbors on the specifics of this development. We would like 1 week postponement.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Is there a motion to postpone indefinitely item 26 to the City Council meeting on Monday, June 14th of this year?
So moved. Let's.
Second, Aguilar.
Motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Are there any other motions or comments on this particular topic?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I ask Mr. Cooper what is happening so far? Are negotiations or not negotiations, but are talks coming along nicely?
Yes, we've
after
been
our
meeting with both the
conversation?
neighborhood and the applicant on a list of concerns that have been brought up.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that things are moving along. You feel they should be
We're
done
trying,
by next
yes,
week?
we're trying to keep them moving along.
Okay.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please vote yes, and those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Rippenbach? Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
That motion prevailed 7-0, and Councilor Rippenbach, of course, left. So item 26 has been postponed to Monday, June 14th, the next City Council meeting. If there are no objections, we'd like to have items 27 through 38 will be read all at the same time. Item 39 will be handled separately. Items 27 through 38.
Item 27 is a new 2010 package liquor license for Misty Weir Camp, Munchies North, to be operated at 1030 North Minnesota Avenue, with the major amendment permit 2010-0307 being approved on May 5th, 2010. Item 28 is a new 2010 package liquor license for I-90 Fuel Services Incorporated, Boomers number 126, to be operated at 4201 West 41st Street, effective July 1st, 2010. Item 29 is a new 2010 package liquor license for I-90 Fuel Services Incorporated, the gas stop number 116, to be operated at 3000 East 26th Street, effective July 1st, 2010. Item 30 is a new 2010 package liquor license for I-90 Fuel Services Incorporated, the gas stop number 117, to be operated at 1731 South Cliff Avenue, effective July 1st, 2010. Item 31 is a new 2010 package liquor license for I-90 Fuel Services Incorporated, the gas stop number 123, to be operated at 4800 Southwestern Avenue, effective July 1st, 2010. Item 32 is a new 2010 package liquor license for I-90 Fuel Services Incorporated, the gas stop number 124, to be operated at 7125 West 26th Street, effective July 1st, 2010. Item 33 is a new 2010 package liquor license for I-90 Fuel Services Incorporated, the gas stop number 131, to be operated at 3245 South Sycamore Avenue, effective July 1st, 2010. Item 34 is a transfer of a 2009-2010 retail malt beverage license from Crystal Investment Incorporated Aces Casino to Interstate Gaming Incorporated Aces Casino to be operated at 1316 South Cliff Avenue, including video lottery terminals, existing license which predates the ordinance. Item 35 is a transfer of a 2009-2010 retail malt beverage license from Trifecta Holdings LLC, named to be determined, 41st and T. Ellis Road, to Regal Holdings LLC, named to be determined, to be operated at 41st and T. Ellis Road, including video lottery terminals, with the reinstated conditional use permit 2010-0313 being approved on April 7, 2010, pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 36 is a transfer of a 2009-2010 packaged malt beverage license from Arts Auto Care Incorporated, Arts Auto Care, 812 East 10th Street, to Selmanta Mini Mart LLC, Selmanta Mini Mart, to be operated at 810 East 10th Street. Item 37 is a special one-day liquor license request for SMG to be operated at the Orpheum Theater, 315 North Phillips Avenue, on August 14th and 28th, 2010, for wedding receptions. Item 38 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine license for Almost Home Canine Rescue to be operated at the 8th and Railroad Center Boardwalk parking lot on August 14th, 2010, for the 605 Summer Classic.
Thank you, Tamara. Lori Hogstead with the City Attorney's Office, and I can certainly answer questions on items 27 through 38.
Are there any questions for Lori? Yes. Councilor
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On item number 35, what is pending on the final inspection per Fire, Health, and Building Services?
Well, what that means is many times there's construction yet to be done or finished, and in this case, the building has not even started to be built, but they have been approved for the location and for the business, and they are they have to be either the lessee or owner of the property to make application, and in this case they are. And now they're just transferring it to a different corporate name within their corporate structure. And so we will not actually issue that license until all the inspections are completed.
Okay, that was my concern.
Good
Thank
question.
you.
Yep.
Any other questions of Lori? We also have some good people here that are owners of some of the establishments here today. We also have some other people, of course, in the audience that may have some questions. Anybody else would like to speak on these topics? Please feel free to come forward. Well, Sam, first of all, I want to thank you for making the effort to come, just in case there were questions for you business owners. I appreciate that. We all do. But seeing no comments or hearing no comments, is there a motion to please approve items 27 through 38 with one vote?
So moved, Litz.
Entenmann, second.
Motion to approve by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Are there any other further motions or comments?
Point of clarification, Mr. Mayor, is this is to merely vote on all of them at once, and then we will make another motion to approve later. Is that correct? Or is this the vote? This is the vote?
This is for items 27 through 38.
So this is the vote. It's not to
Yes.
tie them all together. Okay, very good.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes, and those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Anderson Jr.,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
That motion also prevailed 8-0. So items 27 through 38 have been approved with the one vote. And now we'll move on to item 39.
Item 39 is various retail malt beverage, packaged malt beverage, and packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license renewals for 2010-2011 to be operated at various locations in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, identified as Exhibit B.
Thank you, Tamara. Lori Hogshead, City Attorney's Office. This is, as Tamara mentioned, Exhibit B, the largest group of renewals. There's 167 total. We had 2 weeks, or actually the last meeting in May, we had our first group of renewals, and it was a pretty short list. This is our biggest list, and then in 2 weeks, on June 21st, we will have what we call Exhibit C, and those will be the final set of renewals, and will also include any of those that have had underage sales, and they will be here to speak to you on that. Just a couple items to mention on this list. Regal Holdings LLC, the one that we had talked about just previously under to be determined for a business name at 41st and TLS Road. The renewal, of course, would still be pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. And also the Sioux Falls Lodging Group LLC for Homewood Suites at 3620 West Avera Drive. The Fire Department is requesting that that be approved pending corrections. The other request that I have is there is a retail malt beverage license for Fyra Halu Hordofa for the Shalom Ethiopian Coffee House at 1701 East 10th Street. I have received some calls, as well as the police department, from neighbors that have some concerns with this location. They will be present in 2 weeks to attend, and we will also have materials put together from the police department regarding the calls and concerns of the neighborhood. So I would like to request a postponement on that particular item to June 21st. I'd be happy to answer questions on any of the others.
Any questions? Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to comment on these particular topics as well? Item 39. Hearing none or seeing none, is there a motion to approve item 39?
So move, Entenmann.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Entenmann made the motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll move to amend item 39 by removing the 2010 retail malt beverage renewal for Shalom Ethiopian Coffee from this item and postpone definitely to the City Council meeting on Monday, June 21st, 2010 at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Councilor Brown.
Seconded, Rolfing.
Councilor Brown made a motion to amend, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Do we have to read those one more time? The amendment?
No.
Okay,
no, we
great.
haven't.
Any comments on that? All those in favor of that motion, please vote yes, and those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Anderson Jr.,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison, Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
The motion to amend is prevailed 8-0. Is there a motion to approve item 39 as was amended?
Move, Entenmann.
Second, Jamison.
Point of order, I don't think we already have the motion, right?
That's right.
Is that-
Motion's already been approved.
You have to adopt the main motion as
That's
amended.
right, sorry.
And do I have a second, please?
Yes, Jamison.
Thank you.
Councilor Brown, thanks for keeping me on my toes. Thanks for helping me. Thank you.
I look good in gray hair.
You're doing great. I'm turning gray. We had a motion that was by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Jamison. Are there any other further motions or comments on item 39 as amended? In that case, all those in favor of that motion, please vote yes, and those that were opposed, please vote no.
Councilmember Anderson Jr.,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
That motion also prevailed 8-0. Item 39 has been approved as amended. We'll move on to item 40.
Okay, item 40 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment petition number 2010-0408 to Chapter 15.45.070, Plan Development Districts at 6805 South Louise Avenue, amending the Platinum Valley Plan Development District sub-area regulations. Planning Commission recommends denial.
Again, I'm Mike Cooper, representing Planning and Building Services tonight. This is a major amendment to a plan development district, which is essentially changing the allowed land uses. And the petition that's before you tonight is asking whether or not to add on-sale alcohol as an allowed land use within this plan development zoning district. The applicant is Jason Walsh, owner of Bogies on Marion Road and 26th. And the petition that they've submitted to us is to request approval to allow on-sale alcohol to be conducted within an existing building located along Louise Avenue. The building has been in place for some time, and just a little bit of history about this Plant Valley development area. When this particular area was originally approved back in the 1990s, it was going to be allowed as office development. In 2005, an amendment was allowed to include retail services as permitted land uses, and now the petition is to allow on-sale alcohol within the specific tenant space for the proposal of a double Bogies. At the time that the Planning Commission, the staff report to the Planning Commission was put together by staff, the recommendation was to approve this use. At that time, we were not aware of any neighborhood concerns, and we know that along other major commercial streets in the city that there have been various alcohol-related uses in conjunction with bars, restaurants, casinos, and so forth. And we also were aware of the track record that Bogies had at their current location. At the Planning Commission hearing, there were neighborhood opponents that came forward to speak with concerns about this proposed amendment. And I know that the petitioner is here tonight, as well as neighbors, to kind of go back over some of the comments and some of the other information. As a result of the testimony by the Planning Commission, in front of the Planning Commission, the recommendation was to deny the major amendment. There were 3 Planning Commissioners that voted recommending denial and 2 in favor of the amendment. So this is not an appeal tonight. This is a normal item that would come before the City Council for your consideration. And if we could put the vicinity map up there. There are a couple other land uses that are important for you to be aware of. To the south of the proposed applicant, there was approval for off-sale alcohol, which will be Wolfie's Liquor Store. And then to the north, there was recently approval for a restaurant, casino, and bar in an area that was allowed for commercial development. We also showed a proximity of the Ballerina Dance Studio to the south of this petition. Again, I just want to emphasize that what you are being asked to consider tonight is to allow the land uses to be amended by adding on-sale alcohol specifically to this address, not to the entire building and not to the entire development. It would just be for this particular address as identified in your ordinance, which again is shown as 6811 South Louise Avenue. And we did receive some additional information today on behalf of the petitioner, and I do know that they are here tonight wanting to present that as well as some of the neighbors. And so I will just stop there if you have any questions for me at this point.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Did I jump ahead of the new protocol? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay.
Mike, thank you. Are the folks from Bogies, are they here tonight? Would they want to speak in front of the City Council?
Mayor? I
Yes.
believe there might be some questions for Mike yet
Oh,
before.
I'm sorry, of the City.
Sorry.
Any of the City Councilors have any questions of Mike? Councilor Brown?
Are on sale and off sale, are they considered a similar use under the planning zoning ordinances, or are they a separate, different use?
They're separate uses, yes.
And then to add on to that, Mike, did we have to change any zoning to add Wolfies into that?
Yeah, the city council did approve an amendment for on-sale,
But originally, this property wasn't
or for
to
off-sale,
allow
I'm sorry,
any-
off-sale.
Okay, but originally, this property was not to allow any type of alcohol
Right.
business,
It
is
was
that correct?
retail trade, but not alcohol-related uses.
Thank you.
That was done in 2005.
And Mike?
Yes,
Mr.
Councilor
Mayor?
Wolfing.
Mike, have there been any issues at the original bogies that we're aware of?
Of the original,
Bogies
not that I'm aware of,
with police and that kind of, okay,
not that I've heard about anyway, that,
okay.
Councilor Litz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike, I drove out there and sat down out there and kind of drove around and walked the place, and I was curious about the access. It goes back to Witzke Avenue. Is there a need for that, or a reason that that was put in? Is there, is it for fire and
we did that at the time when this development first came in to provide better access from the residential development into this area. And again, at that time, it was going to be an office or retail uses. So it was done to avoid having people drive all the way around to get to the front entrance.
It is a difficult property to get in and out of. I would have to say that.
Yes.
On parking, Mike, can you tell me, with the uses that we do have there, I'm assuming, of course, through the planning, that it does meet the parking requirements. It just seems to me that the parking is somewhat condensed in that area, especially if the traffic with the dance studio going in and out and things like that.
Yes, that would be one of the requirements, that they have to meet our parking requirement standards.
And what is that from a density standpoint?
Usually for a mixed-use strip mall, it's 1 per 200 square feet.
And it doesn't differentiate between a strip mall or if it's a restaurant or any of that kind of stuff? It's just for the strip mall?
For that strip mall, that's what the requirement would be.
Councilor Anderson Jr.?
What is the property to the east zoned as, Mike? Is that going to be residential, commercial?
It's still agricultural at this time. It's in the city limits, but it's still agriculturally zoned on the east side of Louise Avenue. That would most likely mirror what's been approved on the west side of Louise, but at this point, nothing's been submitted for approval yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mike, if I could, just to simplify again for the audience and for the viewers, this was recommended not to have passed by a 3-2 vote of the Planning Commission.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
the Planning Commission is made up of what type of people?
Very good people.
All good people, I know.
No, I'm sorry. Yes. The Planning Commission is appointed by the mayor and city council, and we try to include a variety of people that represent real estate, development, design, business, and so it's a good, broad cross-section of the community. By state law and by city ordinance, zoning items have to go through Planning Commission with a recommendation to the city council.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Mike, one last question here.
Yes.
Since we have this item 40 up here, all the gray area there, they're off of Louise there?
Yes.
How is that all zoned? Is that all zoned the same exactly, right? So we're going to change the middle of the block is what we're looking at?
We're looking at adding to one tenant space within an existing building the on-sale alcohol.
But the rest of the front of Louise Avenue
Is
will
allowed
stay-
for office or retail,
Okay.
except for the Wolfies, which has an off-sale approval.
Councilor Litz?
Mike, did I read someplace that city planning was okay with the change? in the
Yes,
zoning?
as I said, in our staff report, we did recommend approval. We always try to do that just because we're trying to provide some guidance. And again, when you get to a hearing, there's new information that can be brought up that may modify that recommendation.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Mike, to that point, you just said that you always do that. You always vote yes and then you bring it here, or could you explain that, please?
Okay, we always make a staff recommendation to the Planning Commission.
But you don't always make a recommendation of an affirmative.
Correct.
Very good.
There
But
are
in this
times-
case,
yes.
you did recommend passage.
Yes,
And it was the Planning Commission who actually voted 3-2 against.
based on the neighborhood testimony.
Very
Correct.
good. Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you. Yes, Councilor Jameson?
Mike, if you had to estimate the distance from that facility to the southeast yellow area, that little tip next to Dave, a little, there you go, right there. How far would you say that is?
To the southeast?
Yeah, that yellow area, that's a property I have ownership in, and I'm just not sure I should be involved.
About 300 feet.
Is it 300 feet less?
The black line that circles the site is 600-foot distance, so it's probably in that 400 to 500-foot range.
Sound good.
Now, would anybody in the audience like to speak to this particular item? The folks from Bogies, would you be interested?
Good evening. I'm Jason Walls. I ran Bogies for the last 10 years, and I'm real nervous right now, and I work in the public and I work in a restaurant, but this is a different scenario for me speaking in front of all of you tonight. As Mr. Cooper attested, there hasn't been any problems at Bogies. We've ran Bogies for 10 years. I think you've got the menus in front of you. It is a full-service restaurant. We also operate the Attic on the east side of town for the last couple of years and some various other restaurants in town. And it's not a dance club. It's a neighborhood meeting place, which we're trying to provide for the people in that area. We're not a destination place. We're probably not going to drive traffic from the east side of town or from 10 miles away from the restaurant. It is a neighborhood place. We're looking to service the people there in that 3 to 4 mile area.
Thank you, Mr. Walls. Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Walls? Councilor Jameson?
Jason, no need to be nervous about us. We're just regular guys, too. Yes, I've heard a lot of good things about the way you do run your bars and other businesses. Tell us why you picked this location. I mean, what's so special about it? Because it was a challenge from you from the beginning, I'm sure, but why did you pick this?
Originally, the south side of town, looking at the demographics and the population, there was nothing else out there at that point in time, or until this last one got approved a couple blocks away from us. I would say that would be it. Just looking at the population and the demographics, it looked like there needed to be a restaurant in that area.
Councilor Ruffling?
Again, Jason, what's the seating capacity of this restaurant proposed to be?
On that, we're looking at approximately 5,000 square feet, and well, you caught me off guard there. I think about 120.
Which would mean probably 100 cars approximately?
That is hard to say. Most people, I couldn't answer that, I guess.
I would just guess.
Unless everybody drove themselves,
but
there
yeah,
could be, but more than likely.
Could be 100
not
cars.
happen.
Mike, how many parking spots in that, do you remember? If you can go back to that?
I don't have the number on the top of my head, but I do know that we've reviewed it, and it does meet the parking requirements.
Yeah, but it meets it not for a restaurant, it meets it more for a strip mall. That's my concern.
Well, for this proposed use, it would meet it, but I don't have the numbers in front of me to.
But didn't you say it met it for a strip mall, not for a restaurant? Which is the same, but I would propose that a strip mall has a lot fewer cars parking than a restaurant.
A mixed-use strip mall is what I had meant
to
refer to, not just strictly retail.
But they're taking up almost that whole area there, which is fairly significant. There's a better shot that shows the parking on that. Jeff, so we're talking here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15. We're talking 30 spots, 30, maybe 40. Yeah, we're talking real tight on. I'm going the wrong direction.
that mall to the north there has yet to be constructed, and there is cross easements there.
Yeah. But they'll take some too, but maybe not at night when you're going to be the most busy.
Correct.
What do you feel about, how do you feel about your neighbor to the south there, and what would you propose to do with, because that seems to be one of the main concerns. How do you feel about that?
The ballerina?
Yeah.
She did come over that evening, and we had spoken. She did have concerns as far as, and I was surprised at the number of families running through that establishment during the week. And Jim can attest to this more than I can, but she had suggested putting up, watch for children, speed bumps, a couple stop signs. The Planning Commission also recommended, nothing with that, I guess, with the drive-through of the Wolfies, which has been approved, signage and extra curb markings and so forth, and we agreed to all of that.
Okay. Councilor Aguilar.
Could you tell me what your hours of operation will be, Jason?
10 a.m. to 2 a.m., possibly midnight on Sunday.
Thank you.
I guess normal operations of a bar restaurant.
Councilor Litz?
This might be a question for Mike, but Wolfie's, when we passed that, I didn't think there was a drive-up window on that side of the building.
Yes, there has been there. Well, there was there.
And we approved it with the drive-up on that side, between the ballerina studio and...
Well, what you approved was the land use. You didn't approve the specific building plan, but
Okay.
yes.
But the building plan does want to have a drive-up window, is that
Yes.
correct? Because I've heard both ways. So.
Right.
Thank you.
Mike, just for the sake of the public, could you just briefly explain what Ballerina Studios is? I mean, I know I could, but...
It's a dance studio to the south. If we go back to that aerial photo, it's in the building to the south of this proposed development. It's a dance studio, and that's been there for some time as well, which is allowed in the retail zoning that was in place back in 2005.
Thank you. Any other comments from neighbors or from owners in that? Yes.
Hello, I'm Raina Smith from Ballerina Dance Studio, and I just want to be here to voice my concerns today. So I bought this building last year in May, and we just opened the studio just this last December. And I went through Kristen Zuger, and I was assured that there was going to be no alcohol liquor license near me because at a previous studio that I worked at, there was a bar next door, and it caused huge concerns with the parents of my studio as well as the girls that are leaving my studio. My main hours of business are 3 to 10 at night when the girls get out of school and come over to the studio to work. And I have probably 300 families that come in and out of there during the week and have already received, and I think a couple of the moms from the studio emailed a few of you guys today too to express their concerns about sending their daughters to my studio now as a concern that some of their teenage girls will be leaving class at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and there's going to be a bar next door now. I was not aware that Wolfies was going to go in next door until I went to this meeting regarding bogeys, and then I found out there was going to be a drive-through to pick up liquor, which is probably within not even 10 feet of my studio. So as little girls are leaving the studio, and my concern is that there are going to be people driving through to pick up liquor next door. And that drive-through hasn't gone in yet, but it looks like it's being wired as we speak. So that's our concern. And my other concern, too, is that at the old studio that I worked at that had a bar next door, over 10 years ago, there was guys peeking in the windows, really intoxicated, looking in the windows, and the girls were freaking out. Then we'd have to lock the girls in, and then the parents would come to pick up their kids, and the girls would be locked in the studio. And so it was a mess, to say the least. So my concern is my business, as well as losing business, because this is going to be going in next door. And I was assured by Kristen Zuger that there was going to be no liquor next door, and now we've already got Wolfies going in, and then to add to the problem, bogeys. So that's my main concerns today.
Councilor Lutz.
Thank you for coming down here tonight. Was Kristen Zuger your realtor on this deal?
Yes, she was, and then she worked through Dunham, so I actually never spoke to Dunham when I bought the building, but I just was in touch with Kristen Zuger.
So in essence, your realtor told you that there would be no change of zoning?
Right, because I was really concerned about my dance studio being zoned to have dance, because at my very first studio, this is my third studio, at my very first studio 3 years ago, I had to come and get it rezoned for retail to do dance outside the studio. So,
thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Mr. Mayor, one other question. Did I hear that you own that building to the south?
Yes, I've purchased the building.
Okay, and you've filled the whole thing?
Yep.
Okay, super, thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Thank you.
Ms. Smith, thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Please.
I do have some moms from the studio here tonight, and they would like to express some of their concerns as well. So some of the moms that have their children here tonight are here.
Good evening. Thank you so much. My name is Carmen Gross, and I'm one of the moms at Rena's Dance Studio. My daughter has been attending Rena's Dance Studio since about kindergarten, first grade, so we've been through a few of the different studios. And now as she's getting ready to go into her final year of junior high and start high school, this is a huge concern for me because her classes are going to start being some of the later evening classes. One of her goals is to potentially even get college scholarships for dance. So she will be, once she turns 14 and 16, potentially volunteering more with the younger kids on top of her own dance. And as a parent who has sat in the parking lot, it already is extremely crowded. I know they've talked a little bit about the exit out onto the private area. There can become a large snow pile there over the last winter, and you couldn't see cars turning on to begin with from sober drivers, let alone anybody who may have been inside drinking. The dance studio provides dance from preschoolers all the way up through the adult age. And for anybody who's had children in dance, I don't know how well I'd feel about a strange man standing outside of a big open window watching my daughter dance in a tank top and shorts. And there's not a way to really stop it. And just like Rain, if I would have known about the bar going in with the drive-through window, that would have been a huge concern for me because kids are outside playing. Some of them have an hour, 2 hours in between dance classes. And to leave them exposed to people that could be drinking is a real concern for me. The parking is an issue. Parking is already tight in front of Reina Studio as classes are switching for some of the older kids that are already driving, parents that are picking up, and then parents that are dropping off for the younger kids. To have it crowded in there with a restaurant, I'm really concerned about the safety and kids running in and out of cars. Anybody that has had a few drinks could be impaired on top of it. So I'm hoping you guys will help vote for it because I've been with Raina since my daughter's been in dance, but that would be a huge concern, and knowing Raina as a friend as well, I don't know if I would be willing to take that risk. So I would hate to see her studio damaged or her reputation because of a bar and restaurant. And no offense to Bogies, I've been there, enjoyed it, they have a clean facility. It's just not necessary to be next to a dance studio. So.
Thank you, Ms.
Thanks.
Gross. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Gloria Scott, and I live at 7000 South Widsky, which is along 77th Street, near the entrance and exit of this area we're discussing. I have a petition with 28 signatures of concerned homeowners who live along and south of 77th Street, and each of these individuals opposes the bar and grill. We have witnessed and experienced congestion already due to parents dropping off and picking up their dance students. Since this the driveway is so close to 77th and Louise. This presents a dangerous situation, and then with the added traffic of the coming liquor store and the added traffic of the proposed bar and grill, it just increases the danger. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.
My name is Luann Decker, and I live at 6905 South Whiskey Avenue. I represent a smaller association, but we are directly behind this proposed bar and grill. We are the twin homes from 74th to 77th. There are only 14 units there, 3 that are still in the process of being built. We are in extreme opposition to this. Even after having visited with the proponents of this, we still feel uncomfortable. We're very cautious. We're very concerned about the traffic in the neighborhood. The speed bumps and caution signs are all well and good. We feel very uncomfortable, and I have a petition from my neighbors and the Association of the Whiskey Cottages in opposition to this proposal. We appreciate your concern and this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Decker. Can I just, do we do anything with the, do we actually, can we accept the petitions? What do you recommend, Deborah?
I think actually probably filed with the planning department. Are they, Mr. Cooper? Filed with, yes. So you take them in.
If you wouldn't mind sharing those petitions with Mr. Cooper, we'd appreciate that, and thanks for your efforts on that as well. Any other comments?
Hello. I'm Dr. Catherine Florio. I'm a neurologist here in Sioux Falls. I'm also one of the students at Ballerinas, and so is my daughter Callie. I'm one of the adults. I think my take on this is a little different than this because I used to be a bartender. Before I went into medicine, I was a bartender, so I know what it's like on the other side of the bar. I love bars, love restaurants. The thing is I wouldn't love a bar and restaurant here. You know, the traffic is an issue and all of that, and I understand that. Being the bartender, I've watched how people change when they drink, and people who are mild-mannered and carefree and happy-go-lucky can turn very ugly, can become somewhat hypersexual, if you will. These little girls don't need to be exposed to this. You know, it's bad enough as an adult being exposed to that, but you know, my 11-year-old doesn't need to see that. You know, a 6-year-old doesn't need to see that. So with all due respect, you know, again, I like your bar, you know, and I know you haven't had any problems with it, but putting a bar and restaurant next to small children is probably not a good idea. Thank you.
Dr. Florio, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Molly Jo Van Metren. I am an employee of Ms. Reina's. I'm her assistant, and I also am the mother of 5 children. 2 of my daughters go to the dance studio. As Reina's assistant, I am there after hours, so I can be there any time during the day, and I have been there after 10 o'clock at night, depending on what my work needs to do for her. My concern is when we stopped over to visit with the gentlemen from Bogies, we didn't even know about the liquor store that was coming in, and we're kind of told that was already a done deal. Very concerned that the drive-through for the liquor store literally is like 2 feet away from one of the doors that we use for exit. It's also back, we have girls that do work study at our studio, and they do things like vacuuming, take out the trash, those kind of things. And that is the access they use to get back to the dumpsters in the back. It's very dark. That is a big concern for me because they're already doing it by themselves. It's usually older girls. My take on it is this. I don't have any problem with Bogies. I have eaten there myself. It's very nice. This is not a matter of if there's going to be an issue. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. And it's going to happen. We have over 300 students that are there at any various time during the evening. Dr. Fleur and I were talking. There are some girls that are at ages that an older person paying attention, they don't get that. And they think it's cute and kind of neat. The dance studio, we have 2 studios in the building. The one is right next to the liquor store. We do have curtains, but they are see-through ones for light to come in. There's really no way for us to cover it up for the girls. And it's a lot of them, it's our ballet side, where almost every one of our kids from any age is taking a class in there. I just think it's a bad idea. The parking's already horrendous. And for me as myself, I'm there a lot by myself in the evenings. I just particularly don't want to have to deal with it. So that's just my take on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Van Vetteren. Thank you.
Hello, council members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jennifer McNamara, and I'm here coincidentally, actually happening to know several of the people that are commenting on this issue. I don't really stand on one side or the other, but I do want to point out I've lived just south of what you would call Platinum Ridge and Cinnamon Ridge. I live just south of there. We built our house in 2003, so I've been there longer than these people have considered that area. When I first moved, what you're looking at there was nothing. There was nothing. And when you look at that neighborhood, I just want to point out, as someone who's watched that neighborhood grow up, we've been very excited to see the development of things like Lewis Drugs being built. There's an intent for a gas station on that side, the medical facilities. We've really looked forward to seeing some development on that side of the interstate. But I will point out, they are right. That was originally designed to be office space. So there's very small parking. And it's not really obvious in the picture there, but you can't turn around on that road. There's a median. You can only go one way or the other. So they do have to turn out into the neighborhood if they can't turn one way or the other. And also, my daughter's elementary school is in that neighborhood. There's also 2 churches and several home daycares, and there's an assisted living center. Primrose is just a little bit farther there. So we do face at that corner, 77th and South Louise, congestion at the time when you go to pick up your children and things like that. If Bogies is going to be there all day, I do foresee, as someone who's, again, watched that neighborhood grow and change, I do foresee traffic and safety concerns in that. There are school-age children walking in that neighborhood after school and whatnot. So, again, although I'm very excited to see restaurants and developments like that in the area, I wish I didn't have to cross the interstate or go into T to eat dinner. I don't know if that is exactly the right spot to put an establishment that could seat 100 people. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McNamara. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Callie Burris. I'm a student at Ballerina, and I'd feel extremely uncomfortable if there were men who had been drinking watching in as we danced, because some girls, a lot of us just wear leotards and tights, and for men who are intoxicated, that may be provoking in some ways. And also, there are many little girls there that might get a bad example from if there's any people who have been drinking, they might get a bad influence from those people. And also, as many have said, the parking is not very good. Like during this winter, half of the parking spaces were covered up by snow, so there would not be enough parking spaces to fit all the cars necessary for the dance studio, the restaurant, and the liquor store. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burris. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Jim Dunham Company, 230 South Phillips Avenue, representing the petitioner and the building owners. How do you follow that? I guess I take a little bit of offense thinking that all bar patrons are pedophiles, but maybe that's just my perspective. It's hard to, argue with everything you've heard tonight, because when we started this process, we had a neighborhood strip center, which a neighborhood bar and grill is pretty standard to go into that type of location today. At the time, we thought it was a good use. We had a neighborhood event. Mr. Timmer, who has not spoken yet, and Raina Smith, who did speak, were both at the meeting and said they would be good customers of the establishment. We had no negative comments at the neighborhood meeting whatsoever. So coming to the Planning Commission meeting, we were very surprised when we had opposition. I understand the issues with parking. We meet code for a strip mall with a restaurant. I heard about the snow. We didn't move the snow in the winter because the building was 100% vacant, so I agree there was snow there. The only tenant there today is the Ballerina, so if they have a parking issue, I guess we know where that's coming from. And they do have a lot of students. They do fill the parking lot, I will admit, not ours, the parking lot next to us. We still think that for Bogies, which is beer and wine only, it's a restaurant. It's a restaurant that happens to have beer and wine component. Unlike, 3 doors to the north, there's now a bar restaurant, a full alcohol establishment with a casino got approved last Wednesday night at the Planning Commission. And that does not have to go to you folks because their zoning was correct, so that will be there. They got approved, that's going there. This is just a restaurant that has beer and wine, and those type of uses typically locate in a neighborhood, and that's what we brought to you folks tonight, thinking it was a good use. We tried to meet all the demands of the neighborhood. In fact, one thing I guess, Dave, if you can pull up, we did, and I've got the ballots, I can give those to Mike also. We went to the neighborhood on 2 different nights after 6 o'clock at night and approached the people that were home. Dave, I don't know if you can turn that so the green's at the bottom or Louise is at the bottom, just better perspective. What we did here is we took all of our ballots and we put it on our site plan so it would be more visual, more readable. Basically, every vote that was yes, we put green. If it was red, we put no. The only 2 no votes we had was the Ballerina and one neighbor behind and down the street a little bit who said, I'm not opposed to bogeys, I'm just opposed to it being in my neighborhood. Otherwise, everything you see in green, and Commissioner Jameson, you were, or Councilor Jameson, you were asking about the distance. If you see that black ring, and I realize it's a little hard to see, that represents 500 feet from bogeys to that ring. So that ring from one end to the other is 1,000 feet. So Mr. Timmer and his group, and I like Mr. Timmer, they're actually 500 feet to 1,200 feet away. So we went to what we felt was the real neighborhood that was near this establishment and a part of this establishment. And of all the green, we had 2 people opposed. I didn't go to Raina. I knew her position. We got 1 other negative vote. Everybody in green said yes. White wasn't home. Yellow is vacant lots. So we attempted to go to the neighborhood and canvass them and get their opinion. And we thought mainly I got high fives and thank yous that the neighborhood needed a bar and grill for a lot of years. So again, we thought when we made application, went to the meeting, we were providing a service. We feel that we would have had the Planning Commission approval had we not had the access road to Whiskey. We have agreed that we will terminate that, put a fence up, put a chain up for the fire department. We will remove that access into the neighborhood. I could go on and on. You guys have read my position paper, and we still feel it was good for the neighborhood, and we're still in support of it, and I thank you for your time.
Councilor Aguilar?
Will there be no casino operation in this
Yes,
facility?
good question. This has a casino arm to it, just like Bogies does on Marion Road now. It's actually in a separate room, closed off to any outside people other than the casino people themselves, which of course must be over 21, and there's a full-time attendant in that room at all times. So it's not advertised as a casino, it's advertised as a neighborhood restaurant that has a casino and beer and wine component. And there it is on the map.
Mr. Dunham, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I'm John Timmer, 7100 South Whiskey Place, and I hadn't planned to talk tonight. But when someone says, I said I would be a customer there, that is a lie. I did not say that. And I think that's part of our problem right now. We had one of our girls went and got a petition signed, went to get a petition signed, and the man said, I've already signed a petition for Mr. Dunham. And she said, well, were you aware of these things? He said, no. Mr. Dunham told me that all these things were worked out for traffic and so forth. And he then signed our petition. Now, Dunham people have been great people. Dunhams have developed a lot of things in Sioux Falls. They developed Platinum Valley where I live, and they did a fantastic job. They've got Platinum Ridge going about 7, 8 blocks, 10 blocks south of that, and they're doing a great job at that. And some of their offices are very well done. But in this case, they have twice already asked for change in zoning, seemingly to fit what they needed in order to fill the building. And as you can hear from the people here that were testifying, we don't think that's the proper use for this building. They put in a great new office building just about 6 months ago, last fall. The FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. That's the type of office buildings we want in that area, that we need in that area. The ballerina studio, when you rezoned that for on-sale, off-sale liquor, nobody in the whole neighborhood knew that that was being rezoned. That was during the snowstorm last winter when signs couldn't be seen. Signs weren't placed at the right place, but even if they had been, it wouldn't have made any difference. Even the owner of the ballerina studio, because she had been told what she had, didn't know that that pink sign was a rezoning sign. She thought it was some building sign or something. And as a result, I question whether you folks would have approved a drive-through liquor thing right next door to the ballerina had people come and had known about it and talked about it. I recognize there's nothing you can do about that right now. My guess is a year, 2 years from now, that thing will be closed anyhow, because there will be other liquor stores that will be more accessible to get liquor. But the truth of the matter is, we would like to keep it what it was zoned for. And we'd not like to see it expanded into the type of use that this would be, from parking and all the other things that are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Timmer. Any other comments from the audience? Any other questions from city councilors?
Got a couple questions. Mike,
Mr. Anderson, Jr.?
if you would, please. What is our regulations as far as bar casinos from parks, churches, daycares, schools? Do we have a distance?
500 feet. You know, we have many, many different types of alcohol establishments, so there's...
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's my point. I guess we're looking at protecting children, you know, in those different sites. But yet here we're proposing a change of zoning that's only a few feet away from a business that deals strictly with children. I would consider this dance studio similar to a daycare. And I guess that's where I'm struggling here, is why we even had Wolfies in that position where they're at now, and now we want to double that up even some more in that same, that whole same development.
Yeah, the zoning definition of a school park would not include daycare or preschool. It would be elementary or secondary schools.
But you see where I'm leaning here as far as
that's why you're being asked to vote on
children.
it tonight. So.
And I'm not saying that any of their clients are bad people, but it's only going to take one. And then we're really going to have an issue. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, Mike,
Yes.
could I ask you one question quick? Explain to us, because it's not on the original internet information, the new restaurant on 74th Street? Cravens? Can you
Yes.
tell us what that is and what that's about?
It's going to be a restaurant bar. I don't know a lot of details about it, but it's, again, that entire land up to 69th Street was approved for commercial development, so they didn't require any change in the zoning. It was a conditional use permit.
Mm-hmm. Do we know anything else about what's going to happen in that block, that same area, north of 74th, in this?
Well, the Lewis Drug Store up there.
Right,
at
farther north of that, right. Is there anything between like Lewis and this Cravens now?
Not that's been
That we know
approved
of,
specifically, but it's all allowed for commercial uses.
Right, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Sure.
Just a second, Mike. Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
What is in north of the proposed bogeys there? Was there a casino, you said? Jim said?
No, he meant the Cravens.
Oh, that's what you were talking about, Jim?
That's what he was referring
Okay.
to, yes.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
I assume that's what he was referring to, yeah.
Councilor Jameson.
Mike, what's the distance between the proposed double bogeys and the Cravens there? Just roughly, is that less or more than 2,000 feet?
No, it's probably 500 feet. Again, that black line is 600 feet.
And there will be a casino with the other
I believe so.
Cravens? How does that work if, don't we have a rule on our,
No, this would be allowed. Yep. If it wasn't allowed, we wouldn't have brought it before you, so, just like the parking requirements. So again, what you're being asked to vote on is the major amendment to allow the alcohol sales.
okay.
Councilor Gibson, yes.
Just another question maybe for Jason or Jim, I guess, either one. Jason, do you plan on owning this building or renting or leasing this space? Maybe I should know that, but I'm just asking.
It would be a lease space from Dunham Company. Unless I wanted to buy the whole thing, which I cannot do.
And we have agreed as part of our application that the approval tonight for the restaurant with beer is only for the applicant, which is Jason Wall. So it doesn't stay with the building. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. That's the way I understood it. That the approval is for the applicant only, not for the building owner. So he leaves the building with bogeys. The approval goes away with it. And yes, the Cravens does have a casino and full liquor, or we're just beer. Whoever asked that question, I'm sorry.
Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
I have a question for Mike. Mike, I did watch the Planning Commission meeting, and they did put a number of conditions on the original proposal. Depending on how it went here tonight, do those come into play for us, or would we have to, again, if we were considering to allow, would we have to list those individually also?
You would have to list those, yes.
Thank you.
Because the motion was made to deny the request.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Ruffin.
Councilman Aguilera, what were some of those specifications, if I could ask? Do you remember, or Mike, can you tell me? It might be
Well,
helpful if we knew those.
One was that they would make the back egress one way, I believe. They would get a special use permit
For what?
to, I guess, a special use permit that would need to come before, again, they would have to go before the Planning Commission to get a special use permit. That was one of the considerations. And then there were the originals that had been put forward by the Planning Department. But I believe there ended up being 5.
Mr. Dunham, do you remember what they are?
Somewhat. Not sure I understand what they all are. The first 2 stipulations that they asked us for were no public access to the rear of the building, so that nobody was opening a door and accessing the rear residential neighborhood behind. We agreed to that. They asked that we put no signs up for the bar, restaurant, or casino on the end caps of the building or the back of the building, so that we didn't change any of the perception of the neighbors. No additional lighting, no additional penetrations, nothing different than the way it has been today as it's been for the last several years. If you're in the neighborhood behind, other than the cars going from the front of the building, you should know no difference. We agreed to make no changes. Then from there were we agreed to make the access one way, and at the time, Mr. Randall with the city said his memory was that the access was to get people into the building, not out of the building, so we agreed it could be one way in, and it was a one way you couldn't go back out, so that at night, people were not leaving the building, going back into the neighborhood, shining their headlights onto those people. And the remaining 2 were...
Mr. Dunham, the other one was no signage visible on the west side or ends of the building.
Correct. We agreed to that.
And then the other one was no public entrance to an on-sale alcohol establishment from the west side of the building.
Correct.
Those
we
are
had
the 2.
no issue with that. Yeah, those were the only 2 that the planning staff made a recommendation. Then the planning commission discussed 3 items, but those died when they vetoed the application, even though we, I think, theoretically agreed to a lot of them, or most of them.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Lentz.
I was real interested in that access, the west side access. How would you make that one way? I mean, the only way I could think you put spikes up there to flatten tires.
Well, it is pretty tough. I mean, we agreed to put signs up, as we did with all the neighbors, to, with the curb, the speed bumps and slow down signs and stop signs at all of our entrances, even though they're not required by code. We agreed to put those up because the neighbors expressed concern that people were speeding through the parking lot, even though we have no tenants, but they're speeding. So we agreed to put stop signs up or slow down, even for the liquor store, to put caution, there's children, signs on the building up above, anything we could do to make them, the liquor store was approved several months ago, and it's well under construction, but we still agreed to do what we could to assist the neighbors in any way to help alleviate any issues that might bring. Recognizing that in reality at 10 o'clock at night, it's easy to go down a one-way street the wrong way when it's a quarter of a block long. We agreed to put a fence up and/or put a chain up for the fire department, and we contacted the fire department. We asked if it could go away. They said, yes, it can. There's no requirement for them to have it. So we did agree that we would put a permanent barrier up so that people couldn't cheat the system and go down a one-way street the wrong way. We want to be a good neighbor.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Donovan. Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt item 40?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Brown.
for the sake of discussion, I will move approval with the 5 stipulations. And do you want me to read those, Tamara?
Yes,
I'm going to
please.
add a 6th. The 5 that were recommended by staff: no public entrance to an on-sale alcohol establishment on the west side of building, no signage visible on the west side or ends of the building. Applicant will need to come back for a special use permit. Approval for this petitioner only, and convert west driveway to a one-way in. And I guess number 4 did take care of what I wanted. I thought I had an extra one. Excuse me. So I would make that motion, and I would like to talk to it after, if there is a second.
Is there a second?
Second, Urbanbach.
Thank you. Councilor Urbanbach seconded the motion by Councilor Brown. Councilor Brown?
I wanted to add those stipulations in. I do not intend to vote for this. I just think that it is too close, as Councilor Anderson was indicating, to so many children being nearby. So I just we have to, for those sitting in the audience, we have to make a motion in the affirmative to approve. But I wanted to make clear that's not how I'm voting on it.
Could I interject momentarily just to make things more complicated, unfortunately?
That's what lawyers do, Gail.
And actually, Mike, I have a question for you. Your staff earlier did contact our office about what would happen if a special use permit condition was put on this application, and I think, Councilor Brown, did you include that in one of your 5? And Erica informed us that if the council voted to include the requirement of a special use permit, then the 2,000-foot video lottery restriction comes into play. And plus the other restrictions that go along with that, such as not creating an undue concentration of similar uses, isn't in an area where unattended children could be expected to frequent, compatible with the characteristics of surrounding uses, and the 2,000-foot video lottery restriction. So I guess I'm confirming that that's what would happen if the council voted to add a special use permit requirement.
Mr. Donovan, just real quick. Councilor Brown, if in fact that is the case, then this becomes almost null and void anyway, right?
Because it would be within 2,000 foot of Craven's, which has video lottery placement.
So, Councilor Brown, with that in mind, if you wouldn't mind coaching me here a little bit, sir. With that in mind, would we continue on with that motion?
Yes. I believe so.
You have a motion and a second on the table?
Very good.
I'll second, Council.
It has been seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. Any other discussion on the motion to adopt item 40? And we should reread that just in the spirit of, it's a pretty complicated motion. Thank you.
Okay. The motion was made and seconded by Mr. Brown for no signage on the west side
applicant comes back for a special use permit, this owner only, this use only on the converted west driveway to convert the driveway to one-way, and to also get a special use permit.
Thank you. Councilor Brown.
Just for clarification, if I may ask the city attorney a question. So either vote in this, under this proposal, then by your definition, kills the proposal, correct? One does it more cleanly than the other.
Yeah, I think there's a...
So a vote no ends it immediately. If you support it, it still ends it, but it's a more complicated process.
That's my understanding of the planning and zoning regulations.
So does the council understand?
Councilor Wilson, you have a question, and that's okay.
Which motion are we voting on first?
We're only voting on one motion.
On one.
And the motion is the one that was offered by Councilor Brown, seconded by Councilor Aguilar.
Got it.
No.
And in this,
If I may,
Please.
Mr. Mayor, to clarify, we have one motion, and to vote, if you vote no, it kills the proposal immediately. If you vote yes, it probably kills it more long-term. Does that help, Rex?
Gotcha.
in that case, let's vote.
Councilmember Anderson Jr.?
No.
Councilmember Brown?
No.
Entenmann?
No.
Erpenbach?
No.
Jamison?
No.
Litz?
Nope.
Rolfing?
No.
Aguilar?
No.
The motion to adopt item 40 was defeated 8-0. Let's move on to, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. Great debate. This is what city government's all about. Mr. Dunham, and of course, to the investors, thank you as well. But again, thanks for staying. Great night for Sioux Falls. Let's move on to item 41, please.
Item 41 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 500 South Main Avenue from the C2 General Commercial District to the C3 Central Business District, petition number 2010-0314, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Is there a motion to adopt item 41?
So moved, Rolfing.
Second, Litz.
Motion to adopt item 41 by Councilor Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Litz.
Thank you. I'm now following the proper protocol, so this one will be a little easier, I hope. This is a petition by Calvary Cathedral Church, and they are currently located in this area between 13th and 14th along Main Avenue. They have come to the city asking for approval to reconstruct their parking lot, which is on the south side of the church. And during that discussion, we looked at the zoning, which is currently a C2, which is more of a highway, general commercial. And we thought this would be a good opportunity to clean this up, change it to a C3, which is the downtown business district, commercial zoning district. Also, as part of the discussion that we're having with the church, we're talking to them about, with the reconstruction of the parking lot, what they can do to provide some amenities, some pedestrian separation, because it is basically zero setback along that area behind the sidewalk at this point. So this is a fairly simple request that's coming to you by the Calvary Cathedral Church.
Any questions from the City Council? Any questions from any members in the audience? Hearing none, we'll vote on the...
Mr. Mayor, I would move approval on item 41, Erpenbach. I'm sorry. See, I'm on the old way. I'm sorry. Jeez.
That's okay. We'll vote on the motion. Please, all those in favor vote yes. All those opposed vote no.
Councilmember Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
That passed 8-0. We'll now move on to item 42 on the agenda.
Item 42 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 4801 West 41st Street from the C4 Planned Commercial District and O Office District to the RA1 Residential District, petition number 2010-0403, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Is there a motion to adopt item 42?
So move, Anderson.
Second Brown.
Motion to adopt item 42 was made by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Brown. Any questions on this item, City Council?
I'll just quickly comment on, this is a petition by Sunnycrest United Methodist Church. They have come to us with a plan to expand their facility to the south, which would be both the building expansion as well as additional parking. This is a petition to change the zoning within that expansion area from office and commercial to a multifamily residential, which would be consistent with the rest of their development area.
Thank you. Any questions from City Council? Any questions or comments from the audience? Seeing none, we've got the motion. We'll vote on that now. All those in favor vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmember Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
The motion to adopt item 42 is passed 8-0. Now move on to item 43.
Item 43 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at the northeast corner of East 10th Street and South 6 Mile Road from the O Office District to the RS2 Residential District. Petition number 2010-0407, amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Is there a motion to adopt item 43?
So move, Anderson.
Second, Entenmann.
Motion to adopt item 43 was made by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Mr. Cooper?
This is a petition by Steve Van Buskirk with Van Buskirk Companies, and they have looked at this development area, which was originally proposed for office. Because the housing market is strong in this area, it is directly adjacent to the Fred Assam Elementary School, that they would like to change approximately 8.7 acres of land to single-family residential. Their preliminary development plan indicates that there would be approximately 31 residential lots created with this zoning change. At the first reading, we were also asked to go out and look at sidewalk, and we did take this picture that there is sidewalk constructed along the east side of 6 Mile Road, which goes up to the Mystic Meadows residential development areas. And also there's a bus entrance in this area.
Does the City Council have any questions on this item? Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, can we vote on this motion to adopt item 43?
Councilmembers Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
The motion to adopt item 43 is passed 8-0. Now move on to item 44.
Item 44 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending the city's competitive bid ordinances as found as in Chapter 34.5, Purchasing.
Gene Roanhorse, Director of Finance. This is an ordinance
Is there a motion to adopt item
I'll
44?
move to adopt.
Second, Anderson.
It was moved by Councilor Brown and seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. to adopt item 44. Mr. Roanhorse?
I apologize for this.
It's the new way.
I'm slow, but I am educable.
I thought we were adopting Gene.
This is an ordinance that is bringing the city bid laws or ordinances into line with the new state legislation that was passed at the state last legislature, where they did a lot of amending and changing of the bid activities. We have here tonight Scott Rust, who is the manager of purchasing for the city of Sioux Falls. He was involved in putting the state legislation together, and he worked on putting this together. And Karen Leonard from the city attorney's office was also a very important factor in the drafting of this legislation.
Any questions from the City Council?
I had,
Yes.
Mayor,
Councilor Rust.
Gene, say You know, there's a lot of different circumstances for, I don't know what your definition of default is, but are there mitigating or extenuating circumstances for somebody, once he gets the contract, not being able to do it? Are there exceptions to that, or is it just ironclad?
And I'm going to let Scott, you want to talk on that?
Can I get you to ask your question again?
You know, I was wondering about, you know, for a default, the definition of default, and were there extenuating or mitigating circumstances that, you know, there's all kinds of circumstances out there for a contractor once he gets a bid, between the time he gets the bid and the work commences. Are there exceptions to this? And one other part, too, did this originate with the state engineer's office?
No, I don't believe it originated. I think it did originate because it did come into play in the new state law simply for the fact is that we saw bidders that would all of a sudden put a bid in for a government contract, and all of a sudden they see how much money they left on the table, and then they want to back out after their bid has been accepted. And this new law prevents them from doing that. What will happen is that we will be allowed to get the damages that we received and go to the next low bidder where they have to pay the difference in the bid price. So it's a good piece of legislation. It protects the city. It protects the taxpayers.
Would you be collecting that from the contractor himself or from his bonding?
But typically, on something like that, you know, if a bond is included in the bid, we'd be collecting it from the bond. However, there are times where a bond is not necessary, so we'd actually go back to the bidder and actually try and collect through means through the legal department. So,
any further questions on item 44 from the City Council? Any questions from the audience? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to adopt item 44.
Councilmembers Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
The motion to adopt item 44 is passed 8-0. Now moving on to item 45.
Item 45 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising Article 3, Section 12.5-35 for the complaint procedure for the Board of Ethics.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
I'm just going to move for approval.
Second, Litz.
Councilor Anderson, Jr. moved for approval, seconded by Councilor Litz. Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Also, I'm going to ask to have this deferred to the Public Services Committee. We need to work on some revision on this with the City Attorney's Office.
And we'll need a second on your
There's been a motion by Councilor Anderson, Jr. to defer it, seconded by Councilor Litz.
Refer it.
Refer it. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And just, I'm sorry, this, just for clarification, you're referring it to the Public Services Committee meeting on Monday, June 14th. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to vote on referring it to the Public Services Committee. Okay.
Correct.
Any further motions or questions on this topic? All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmembers Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
That passed 8-0. We will refer that item to the Public Services Committee on Monday, June 14th. Thank you. Item 46.
Item 46 is a resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to certain citizen boards.
Councilor Jamison.
I'd like to defer to Deborah Aola.
I was waiting for the motion to
We need the motion to adopt.
Move to adopt, Brown.
Second, Anderson.
Thank you.
The motion to adopt was made by Councilor Brown, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Councilor Anderson, Jr. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution to appoint council members to the CCOG and UDC committees for the City of Sioux Falls. Council members Kenny Anderson, Jr. and Vernon Brown will be appointed to CCOG, with their alternate being Rex Rolfing. Council members Michelle Erpenbach, Bob Litz, Rex Rolfing, and Kenny Anderson, Jr. will be appointed to the UDC, with the alternates being council members Sue Aguilar and myself. Thank you.
Could you just tell us what the acronym of CCOG and UDC is, please?
Sure. The UDC is the Urbanized Development Council, and CCOG, I'm going to defer to Vernon on.
If I may, Southeastern Council of Governments.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Any further questions? Yes, Councilor
Just a
Litt?
comment, Mr. Mayor. I find myself in a curious predicament of voting myself onto a board. I hope I'm not a conflict of interest.
I understand. I wish you well.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Rolfing, anything? No? Nope. Any other comments? Great. Then in that, any questions from the audience, comments? In that case, we'll vote on the motion to adopt item 46.
Council members Anderson Jr.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Entman.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
The motion to adopt item 46 is passed 8-0. Now to item 47.
Item 47 is report of May 24th, 2010, notice of transfer of appropriations within major organizational units.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor
I
Block?
realize that this is a report, and I realize that this is something that we do on a regular basis, but it's one of those things that in the interest of transparency, in the interest of educating the public, I'd just like Jean to come up and give us the two-sentence explanation of what this is for us. I realize we have all kinds of memos and all sorts of things on it, but if we could just get the real basics so that we all understand what we're doing, that'd be awesome.
Very good.
This process is part of the capital improvement programs, actually where it works at and where it's used at. The way what it's doing, when you now adopt the next budget, you will be adopting in certain situations a pool of money as opposed to one that's set out. And the most common one is the development-driven streets. The way and then that's done because at the time that the budget and that's adopted, we may not have it all right down to the T as far as what's going to be constructed or how that money is going to be used. So when it's primarily Public Works, when they have a project that they pin down as the bid has been let, they then take the money out of this pool of money and put it over in its own project by itself, and it gets a new project number, and is then tracked from that point on as its own project. It's just a case of moving money in the budget process, budgeted in development-driven streets, and moved out to its own project. That's the nature of all of these transactions. The only place that it is used, although it could be in other places, is in the CIP. This is a provision in the charter, section 5.07D as in dog, where the mayor would approve this transfer, and as soon as the transfer is made, then, well, I shouldn't say as soon as it's made, the mayor, after he makes the transfer, he has the responsibility of reporting that transfer to the council before the next council meeting.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor. And for the purposes of the audience, it should give you comfort in knowing that you can't just make willy-dilly changes. Your money is being tracked. Your tax dollar is being tracked, and it's being reported not only to the mayor, but it's also being reported to the members of the city council, so that they have an opportunity also to question it in the spirit of transparency. It should make you feel more comfortable, more confident in how your tax dollar is being spent and indeed tracked. And as you can see about Councilor Erpenbach, she cares, as do all these other city councilors. They're going to be watching it like a hawk, and will question it as need be. So, Councilor Erpenbach, I thank you for that.
Can I add one other thing to that, Mr. Mayor? There is you can actually access this as a citizen on SiouxFalls.org, and I would encourage you to do that as citizens to access that information. The other thing that I appreciated was in the memo that we got today, there were a little bit more specific notes about what each of those items were. That was very helpful to see that it was for a traffic signal, that it was for this project, that project. Very helpful as a citizen to be able to read that. So, SiouxFalls.org.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
My council will, or my staff, we will commit to making a more robust explanation of these things going forward.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Again, in the spirit of transparency, I think that's great. You've got a new mayor, you've got 4 new city councilors, we're all learning together, and we've got a citizenry out there that is dying to know how we are spending their tax dollar. And so I think we're committed to all of you. So good job, Councilor Urbanbach. Appreciate it. I guess that's it for item 47.
Right.
Okay. In that case, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, Anderson.
Second, let's.
Councilor Anderson Jr. Made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Litz. Please vote yes if you approve, no if you want to stay here.
Councilmembers Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion prevailed 8-0. We are adjourned.